What happens at Grandma's stays at Grandma's is a model for you and your grandkids. If it's fun, it's fair game. But lately, hip pain has you grimacing more than laughing. And that's a moment you realize life's too short to put off treatment any longer.
The Joint and Spine Center is Cincinnati's leading destination for orthopedic care, with hundreds of joint replacements each year. So when a moment has the power to change the rest of your life, go to the one place with the power to change it for the better. The Christ Hospital Health Network. This changes everything.
The Pound This Podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This Podcast, episode 750, What to Do When You Lose Motivation.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started.
What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This Podcast with Amanda Valentine.
Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This Podcast. I am Amanda Valentine. Let's talk about motivation, shall we? This has been a hot topic for me, especially in the month of January and the beginning of the year and New Year's resolutions. And I've done a lot of speaking engagements over the past month. And this question has come up a lot of how do I stay motivated? What happens when I lose my motivation? How do we do this? So this list in no particular order I made just from my personal experience, from my own personal journey, and from my professional journey. And if you're brand new to this podcast, thank you so much for listening. Really, really do appreciate it. And to give you some backstory about me, I have, where do I start? When I do these recaps, I kind of just do the same thing every time, I guess. I've been obese for most of my life, dealt a lot with mental health and physical health and body image and all of those things from about the age of 6. And I spent my entire 20s yo-yo dieting. So losing 60 pounds, gaining it back, losing 40, gaining it back. And then I've spent the past decade making a New Year's resolution in 2012 to make the best decision possible in every moment. And from there, it has completely changed my life, not only from losing weight, losing over 100 pounds and maintaining that, but just completely changing my whole outlook on life, changing my purpose in life, changing my outlook on myself and my body image and who I am. And it's changed me professionally, where I worked in radio for over 20 years. In the past 2 years, I've gone on my own, becoming an entrepreneur, certified nutritionist, and certified personal trainer, among some other certifications in behavior change and weight loss. So there's my LinkedIn rundown. And as a person who has been doing this for a very long time in my own journey and professionally for a couple of years and doing this podcast for over 4 years at this point, I mean, this is a hot topic. I mean, we're not going to be motivated all the time. And I think that if you think that that's going to be a thing, you're setting yourself up for some failure, because you are absolutely not going to be motivated every day. And you're going to have probably some good chunks of time where you're not feeling motivated, which is why, how do I get through this? You think we go into January, a lot of New Year's resolution mode, or just, I'm going to do some life changes or do some healthy habits. And then it's like, okay, well, here comes February, March, and I'm not really sticking to it as much as I thought I would. How the heck do I keep myself on track? And there's a lot of things. One is just making things a habit. And actually, you know what? Before we get into habit, I think it's just actually really wanting to enjoy the process and knowing what your why is. Why are you making changes? Whatever those are, whether this is for your financial health, your mental health, your physical health, whatever those things are, the things that you want to do, the things that you want to stay motivated about. Why are you doing it? And a real, really deep down, honest with yourself, hard look in the mirror. Why am I doing this? Because you are going to have to pull yourself back into that why. What's the purpose of all of this? To kind of pull you through those darker moments, or the moments where it's not going to be easy. Because guess what? Life is not easy, especially life in a global pandemic, as we are all very aware of. So you're going to be like, why am I doing this on the days where you don't feel like doing whatever you need to do? And so I think that you start there, and then you go into, okay, well, I need to figure out ways to do this that I like. We don't want to punish ourselves. We don't want to create habits that you think suck. If your habit is, well, I'm going to eat all these vegetables because I need to eat a ton of vegetables. Well, do you hate vegetables? Do you hate this process? We're probably not going to stay motivated too long to do it. Or if you're going no carb, and the motivation is maybe weight loss, but you love carbs, I mean, realistically, how long are we going to live this life? You're not going to have a carb again till you die. Like that, I mean, that sounds like a huge bummer in my personal opinion, unless that's something you needed for medical reasons. But it's like, okay, is that a realistic thing? Is that make me happy? Am I excited about doing this? And maybe you are excited about it for a while and then you lose that motivation and you're like, okay, well, now you need to reconfigure and you need to figure out what makes you excited again. Because sorry, that's the good and bad news of this is you're going to constantly have to evolve and change. It is a moving target 100%, and you're going to have to change things up and change your methods. And that's just part of the process. And you kind of have to like love that part of the process or find a way to like enjoy that kind of, keep things moving, keep things sort of fresh, which I feel like we kind of do in a lot of areas of life of just even thinking if you're watching the same TV show and it starts to get boring and you bail on the last couple seasons, you find something else you're more interested in, right? So it's just kind of going with the flow of those sorts of things. And then I think when you got those things nailed down in a current moment, then you go into habit building of like, okay, well, what are some really doable, achievable habits? Because if you're finding yourself losing your motivation, maybe, your habits were just like, I'm going to drink a gallon of water a day. Maybe that's too aggressive. Maybe it's just drink a cup of water in the morning and that's the goal. And you can check that off a list and you can feel good about yourself and do that for a while. And then kind of remember the next day when you're like, I don't feel like drinking a cup of water today. I'd rather crack a beer or whatever. So then you could be like, well, I felt really good by keeping that promise to myself. And I felt really good from having a glass of water a day. Like maybe, just kind of tuning into how you feel from making some of these habits. And know that you're not going to be super motivated and hyped about habits either. I am not hyped about brushing my teeth every day. It's not like, oh my God, guys, time to brush my teeth. Ooh, we're going to Instagram it. But I do it, right? And you probably do it, or brush your hair or any of those things. Like those are habits that we created to brush your teeth, even though it's not like you're super motivated to do it. It's just a part of who you are now. And actually, I just saw a TikTok last night where they were talking about like healthy habits and stuff like this. And they, in this particular one, which I can agree with this, and I feel like this has helped me on my own journey, is not to just think of a person that does these things, but is it your identity? Like, do you identify as like, yeah, I'm a person that likes to work out. Like I identify as a person that works out and feels motivated by that. Or do you just like, oh, I work out as a means to an end. I work out so I can be skinny or whatever those reasons are. Or do you kind of identify as I'm a person that likes to drink water and I'm a person that brushes my teeth, those sorts of things. I thought that was an interesting way to look at it. And I think as far as like exercise goes, it has been part of the process for me too, to keep me motivated, especially like going to the gym, like on vacations, which I had never done in a previous life. To be like, no, I'm just a person that like loves going to the gym so much and exercising that I will go on vacation because this is who I am and I enjoy it, not because I have to. You know what I'm saying? I think that any of these things that you're trying to get your self motivated for turn into, I have to do this, then it almost feels like a punishment. So how can you find things that you do enjoy doing, or finding mind tricks and at least finding the way to make yourself enjoy it a little bit more? So I think that those things are some really big keys to that. And then also just having to reevaluate your goals all the time too, of just sitting back and being like, am I shooting too high? Am I shooting too low? Like, what do I really want? If I'm losing motivation and I'm finding myself going weeks without making those healthier choices, like so why did I skid off track? Like, I mean, these are all just like, again, not sexy and sellable things of like, oh, well, just take this pill and you'll be motivated, or join this group and you will be. It's really having to take a hard look of like, why isn't this working? Like, what don't I like about this? What would make me more excited about it? And sometimes those answers are just asking for help, or an accountability buddy, or, having a coworker join in with you, or your parents, or your spouse, or your partners, or whoever it is, or you hire a personal trainer, or you hire a coach. I was just having this conversation with one of my clients who I'm a personal trainer for. And she was like, finally, I feel like this is becoming a habit because I have somebody I'm accountable to. Like, I won't just go to the gym on my own, but I know if somebody's here waiting for me and we have a scheduled time, I like that it encourages me to show up. So if that's a motivator for you, absolutely look into those things. Or if you need a health coach, like my friend Sarah, who is amazing, who's been my health coach, like me, knowing that I need to take pictures and measurements and stuff every Friday, to me, that doesn't feel like punishment. To me, it feels like that's a good check-in. It's a good thing to like keep my mind in a place where I want it. It doesn't feel painful to me. It feels good. I have somebody to kind of tap in with to keep me on track. And if you are looking for an amazing health coach to help you with macros, nutrition, keep you accountable, all those things, you can get 10% off month one of all plans and packages with Team Fit With Me. You can go to teamfitwithme.com/pound this, and that link is in the show notes if you are looking for help from a coach, or if you're looking for a personal trainer and you happen to be in Cincinnati, you can always reach out to me at amanda@amandavalentinbites.com. But there's plenty of options. And if you're looking for options, also shoot me an email. And I can definitely help you with that. And I was just doing a seminar earlier this week where a question was asked to me about motivation, but specifically for exercise, of like, I'll be, hey, a couple weeks, I'm doing good. And then all of a sudden I don't feel like going to the gym anymore. What do you suggest? My suggestion is just move. Like, I think that if you're finding that like, oh, going to the gym feels crushing, then just move, like go for a walk, just do something, like, even if that walk is 10 minutes. I think we all get into this headspace that exercise has to be like, get your ass beat in the gym. Exercise is walking. You know what I mean? And that absolutely 1000% counts. It doesn't mean it's like, oh, well, that's really nothing, I just walked. No, your heart knows it's something. I mean, your body knows this, your health knows this. And those tiny things add up. If you're like, I don't feel like going to the gym today, absolutely not. But you just be like, you know what? Well, I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk. I guarantee you're probably not going to feel bad on the other side of it. You still moved. You still kept a habit up. You kept up a habit of movement. And bringing that in will help you the next day too. If it's still like, I don't feel like going to the gym. Okay, well, at least make sure you move then. Let's pull up a YouTube video. Let's do a quick, stretch session. Let's do a quick yoga thing. I mean, with the internet, you can do anything freaking anywhere. I mean, you could just step in place. You know what I mean? So just move your body in some sort of way to that question of how do I stay motivated to keep exercising? And if you find yourself doing that, and you're finding that you're putting at least that movement in every day, that's going to add up. One, not only for your health, but just to keep you motivated and be in that right headspace. And maybe that's a time that you evaluate, well, you know what? I find myself for weeks now not wanting to go to the gym. Maybe that gym is not for you. Maybe that's not the right way to move your body. That's where we come into the reevaluation stage and experimental stage, because again, we're moving target. So it's like, I liked going to that gym, but now I don't. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you try a pole class or a bar class, or you go to yoga, or you try CrossFit, or you try doing like online at-home workouts, or whatever those things are. If you find yourself every time it comes up and you're like, ugh, I don't feel like it, maybe that's not the right thing for you if you're not finding any joy in it, because that is important. Like, you want to find joy in the process. And I know it's like cliche to say that at this point of like, enjoy the process, but I mean, really, that's it. And that is going to take some work of trying things and failing with things and being frustrated and having those days where you don't feel like doing anything. And also, P.S., you don't have to do something every single day either. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go to the gym every single day. You should absolutely be taking some rest, but with an asterisk on that you want to make sure that you're taking like good rest for your mental and physical health, instead of just being, oh, well, it's a rest day and here it's 3 years later and we've never even gone for a walk. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's definitely some boundaries and things that you need to be honest with yourself within that, but rest is absolutely important part of the process. And that can even be, a habitual thing too. How do you stay motivated? Are you getting a good night's sleep? Maybe you don't feel like doing the thing you want to do the next day because you're tired and you're cranky, and maybe you're dehydrated, or you didn't sleep well, or you're stressed to the max. Like, all of these things play such a huge role into that. So it's like, maybe you're beating yourself up of like, well, I'm just not motivated, I can't do these things. Well, maybe you're just also freaking exhausted. And maybe you need to create the habits around that first before we go into, we're going to hit the gym, we're going to completely overhaul our food and all of these other things. Like, maybe we need to work on our sleep hygiene, work on our stress management, work on our hydration. Like, these are all important part of the processes. And maybe that's an easier step to get you into those other things, because once you start feeling good there, at least in my experience personally, like, once I start feeling good about something, I'm like, what else can I do? Like, when I first started and I just started walking, and I just started walking around the blocks, like a couple blocks around my house. And then I started walking miles, and then I started feeling good because I was actually drinking some water. I was actually eating some healthier food. I was actually, moving my body and feeling good. I'm like, oh, I feel so much more energetic than I did before. What else can I do? And I'm like, well, I bet I could try running. And I listened to a Couch to 5 podcast, and I was like, let's see if I like this, and started doing it and really enjoyed it and felt really proud of myself. I mean, I think running sucks. Like, the process of running, the things I like about it is I liked that I could be outside. I don't like running on a treadmill, and I can't really run at all anymore because of my knees. But I really enjoyed being outside. I enjoyed being able to just open my door and go. I enjoyed when I was done with the run, I could go for a walk. I would go grab a coffee or a tea. I enjoyed the process of how I felt from doing it. Like, I enjoyed so many things around it that it got me past the point of like, I don't really like when I'm in the middle of a run, my body and my mind are screaming at me in different ways, because it's not like, I never got the runner's high. I never got that from running personally, but everything else around it, I loved so freaking much. And especially when I started doing races and then bling came in, and I'm like, oh, I could get medals. Then I'm like, okay, there's a whole lot I liked all this. So in the pizza party afterwards, oh, hell yeah. So it's finding those kind of things of, I think, once you make those small little steps and you get the energy, then you'll find more of that motivation to do it. But I think the consistency is a big role. Again, if you're not feeling motivated to go to the gym, can you at least be like, I can go for a 10-minute walk? And maybe it's not the most thing you're hyped about, but at least you can make the promise to yourself and keep it. I said I was going to move more every day, and at least I'm doing that. And then hopefully that is the bridge you can kind of connect you to. Okay, well, yeah, I'm feeling good. All right, yeah, let's get back in the gym because I like how I feel after I do that. And I think that's a thing to clue into of when you do things and when you are feeling motivated, how does it make you feel? Either like write it down, give yourself a voice memo, text yourself, whatever, and be like, I just got done, having a day where I ate really good foods. I nourished my body. I'm hydrated. I'm moving my body in ways that I enjoy. How does this make me feel? And write that down, like, in this moment. And then when you're finding yourself in those days of like, I don't want to do anything, go back and look what you said about yourself in that moment, not what anybody else says about their journey or what they're posting on Instagram or TikTok or anything else. Like, how do you feel when you do those things for yourself? And remind yourself, like, okay, well, on the other side of this, I feel freaking banging. So it's like, maybe that is the motivation of like, oh, you know what? I was, really struggling with my nutrition or with my exercise or whatever else it is. And it's like, but I know I feel so good when I at least do a little bit of it. Then just have yourself do a little bit. And on those days, like when I have not felt like going to the gym, I'm like, you know what? Well, you don't have to go and crush. At least just go and walk on the treadmill. At least just go, give yourself 15 minutes. Please show up, put the clothes on, just walk for 15 minutes. And every time I did that, almost every time, I was like, okay, now I'm here. I'm feeling good. All right, yeah, we can get after this. It's just that, that initial hump I know that everybody's talking about that's so hard where you don't feel motivated, but that's where you're like, okay, why am I doing this? How do I feel when I do this? And some days you're going to have that really hard struggle of like, do I do this or do I bail? And how do I feel if I bail? And if you bail on yourself time after time, that's not really a great feeling in any aspect of life. So also taking note of that too, of how do I feel whenever I make promises to myself or I want to do these things and I don't do it because of circumstances that are under my control. So, and then take note of that, of like, oh, maybe this doesn't feel so great. And maybe that's where it's like, okay, well, I can at least do a little something. I mean, again, 10-minute YouTube video, or even if it's like just meditation. I go so in and out with meditation, and this is the thing that I struggle to stay motivated with. I know that when I take time to meditate, which I really like guided meditations on YouTube, that I'm like, I feel so much better on the other side of them. I do. I just feel awesome. I feel lighter. I feel brighter. It makes me feel better. But then I will find every excuse in the book somehow to be like, oh, I don't have time to do that as I'm scrolling on TikTok. And so it's the take like, okay, Amanda, you know you feel so good when you do this. It only takes like 10 minutes. Like, why are you not doing this for yourself? This is for you. Like, you know, this isn't for anybody else but you, because it starts with you. And if you're feeling good, then it does affect everybody else. Like, okay, well, like, let's like, even if I have to schedule it in my calendar, like, what do I have to do to stop and make myself do those things? Because I feel so good from doing it. And so until it becomes a habit. So I know things like meditation for me because I have done them and it has worked so well for me. Sometimes you just kind of got to grind through it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not meditating because I feel like, you know, like it's going to help me for like superficial reasons. You know what I mean? So it's like meditation is just good for me. It just makes me feel good about me being in my own head, being in my own body. And that's really super important. So why would I want to bail on that on myself? And these are the conversations I'm having with myself about this in particular of like, dang it, Amanda, like what is more important than that? Being on TikTok? What's more important than that? Just, you know, just dinking around, wasting time because it's like, no, that is pretty dang important. And you got 10 minutes, like we all have 10 minutes somewhere. We got 10 minutes on our drive to and from work or to and from the grocery store or whatever it is. We got some time in there somewhere, at least hopefully. And if we don't, then we should probably reevaluate some stuff too. If you don't have 10 minutes a day to have any sort of like time with yourself, that seems aggressive. So like, again, I'm not a parent, so I mean, the obviously this is coming from a place as a non-parent. So I don't want to say that, you know, if you're just like, we'll have, 5 kids, Amanda, and then get back to me. I feel you as much as I possibly can, but still, I feel like 10 minutes in a bathroom while you're pooping to have a good meditation poop. I guess that could be a Zen-like experience of just, of finding that time that is important for you, because ultimately this is for you and it should be for you, whatever your choices are, whether it's nutrition or exercise, any of those things. It's to make you feel good and for you to live your best life possible. So kind of coming back to that will help you find that motivation. I think also reminding yourself of the successes that you have had, of being like, I have done this and I felt awesome when I did this, or I'm proud of myself for this. I'm a big fan of like gratitude journaling and kind of reevaluating all of the good things on those days where you just feel like trash and you don't want to do anything or you're beating yourself up. I'm really good at that, to stop and be like, oh, hey, look at all the good things that you have accomplished. Like, look how awesome things that you've done for yourself and the things that you've done for other people and how you show up in the world. And actually take a minute to be like, no, honestly, like I feel really good about some certain things about yourself. That's a difficult one for me too. And that's a thing too, where I get really motivated of like, okay, I'm going to gratitude journal every day. And then I fall off. Because I think it's just part of the process with everything. And then it's again, you stop and pause of like, well, what were my barriers here? What were my barriers to the meditation? What were my barriers to gratitude journaling that made me stop? And okay, well, what's more important here? And what do I have to do to fidget around with this? I'm also finding those things. I mean, this isn't a motivation thing, I guess, of just finding, again, like time off and time for myself, where I'm not working, which is very, very difficult for me. But I know that I'm so much better for everything that I do when I do that. So I have to schedule those things in sometimes. So sometimes you do kind of have to shoehorn things in until, you have to grind it out and make it a habit. I do highly recommend reading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, because it does come down to consistency and habits. And once you kind of, again, with the teeth brushing thing, and it becomes a habit, it just becomes a part of who you are. And then you don't even question whether you do it or not. You just do. And so I think creating those habits and the consistency is also a huge key, because the motivation on the nights I'm super tired to brush and floss my teeth is not there, but the consistency, the habit brings me back to it. So that is a great book. And if you have any suggestions for anything else like that, podcasts or books or anything, please let me know. Again, my email is amanda@AmandaValentineBites.com. And I hope this was helpful, because it is something that we all struggle with. So if this is you are struggling, you are 1000% not alone. Probably every person listening to this, including myself, has dealt with this, is dealing with this, and will continue to deal with this. And it's just figuring out the best things for you and how you figure that out. And also knowing that it's going to need to evolve, and that's going to change as well. And just, again, finding some joy in the process, finding what really makes you happy, finding what you like, finding foods that you love, finding movement that you love, finding ways to really, really self-care and take care of yourself in ways that are really beneficial to you and things that you love is super important. Not to be like super like everybody hug about it, but really, that's really pretty much it. So again, thank you so much for listening. Really, really do appreciate it. If this episode or if any episode of this podcast helps you out, please, please, please share with, anybody you would think that would find it helpful. That really helps me a ton, and I appreciate it. And I will talk to you later.
AmandaValentineBites.com